Hey, everybody, it's the Microbrew podcast, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, chatter on the Milwaukee Brewers. I am joined, as always, by Curt Hogg. He is in Phoenix watching the Milwaukee Brewers. I am JR Radcliffe. I am in not my usual location, so the lighting is weird. I kind of got like a good and evil thing going on. Half my face is in shadow if you're watching on YouTube, which if you are, you should like and subscribe. Journal Sentinel YouTube channel, please. But mostly you're probably just listening, so you don't care.
And if you're listening, 5 stars and also subscribe. That's how it works, right? I actually don't know what the line is. Is that the line?
Maybe, I don't know. Like, I think for as long as we have been around, I think there have been like 25 people that have ever actually rated and reviewed this podcast. So
we need more. We need more.
Well,
give us 5. Give us 5.
Yeah. That would be really nice for one thing.
But estrellas.
Also, like, can we just be fully honest that I'm not necessarily monitoring that on a week-to-week basis, so the number might be quite a bit larger.
My pay is not determined by the rating on the podcast. However, my emotional well-being is.
That's true. Like, we want people to love us. Like, that's why we're in this business on camera, on a microphone, because we are in deep like inherent need of love. So we would appreciate the love.
She's not joking either. Just ask my wife. She tries to wrangle the people pleaser out of me.
Yeah. We want you to adore us, and that's why we want your ratings and reviews. 5 stars only, please. Otherwise, we might take a week off and sulk quite a bit. We're actually a day late, although not because we were sulking, just a lot going on Sunday night, including the NCAA Selection Sunday special. Curt, are you excited for March Madness? Who are you picking in your bracket?
I'm excited for one game, and it has to happen, and it's round 32, and it involves my alma mater.
Which is Wisconsin. We can say that, right. I think that's fair.
We can say that against a team that has caused me pain. That's about all. I'm on a one-track mind this March, although I was helping Wade Miley out with his bracket today.
That's good.
He went Cougs. He went Houston, and he had no idea Robert Gasser is a Coug. So I go, Bob Gass. And he's like, Bob Gass. I'm like, yes. And Robert Gasser's right there. He's like, what? Houston. He had no idea Robert Gasser Houston. I guess those guys don't spend as much time reading each other's baseball reference pages as I do.
I think that's completely true.
Stunning revelation.
Yeah, I imagine there are all kinds of revelations over the course of a season. Like, oh, you're from, I don't know, pick whatever state they're from. Like, my parents live there or something random. It's like, I've always been from there. How did you not know that until now? I imagine Robert Gasser is also picking the Cougars in his bracket. I am going to go Iowa State. We're going to go with TJ Otzelberger.
St. Thomas More. Great. Right. Big month for St. Thomas More coming, baby.
Just won the state championship. I was there, Curt. You can actually see that at jsonline.com. I got a video up. We got my live blog that was going on championship Saturday.
We could see it during the games. We could see you.
That's right.
We could see the dome.
The Ball Dome made an appearance. The back of the dome. Lots of TV time for the dome. It's again huge for my self-worth to have the back of my head on TV.
We are disgusting people.
We are truly depraved, but we will talk a little about baseball despite all that, and that's where we are right now. The Milwaukee Brewers.
I am watching baseball right now.
Oh, right now in the middle of a game. That is our dedication.
No, batting practice. Sorry, batting practice. Early BP.
Okay, well, one guy who's not out there is Devin Williams. We have not talked about Devin Williams because the injury the reported severity of the injury came after the last podcast. We knew he was going to miss some time. We didn't know it was going to be 3 months due to a couple stress fractures in the back. That's a big one. We know that this is a team that's built on its bullpen, and we know that Devin Williams is a big part of that. And when you've got a bunch of starters that are going 5, maybe 6 innings, you kind of need to know what's left to get. And when you got a hammer in the back, it's a much easier math equation. A little bit harder now.
Absolutely. A hammer that's going to hammer every single time. It's not like my hammering in which we hit thumbs and index fingers and forefingers. Yeah. No, it's like nail on the head every single time. And when we talked last week on the pod, JR, there was a little bit of some murkiness, some fishiness to the Devin Williams situation, like a second opinion. Why do you need a second opinion if everything's fine? Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Not everything was fine. So this is a huge blow to the Brewers, a huge blow. I mean, I legitimately think there's a case for Devin Williams having one of the better or best relief pitcher seasons of all time last year, not just because of the raw numbers. I mean, maybe the peripherals were like a little, like if you want to look at like strikeouts to walks, Hader had him a couple times probably in that regard. But the amount of margin of error that he had to work with every single time out, it was 1-run leads or tie games just about every time for like 3 months. And you know what he did? He never gave it up outside of that blow up in Minnesota. And maybe I think
which was not a 1-run game. That's one of the few
which was not. Yes. That like his bad game was one bad game. The Cubs got him with some dink and dunk. The Nationals got him with some really bad defense.
Yeah, that was not on Devin Williams.
Not on Devin Williams at all. But even then, he had no margin for error, and the defense did not respond adequately given the margin for error. So like, it was just such a good season. It would have been tough to expect like that elite level again, although that's a guy that could do it. But I'm not sure that like a metric like WAR properly evaluates how important Devin Williams was last year. Like, and I'm not saying, it's like a relief pitcher is going to be worth like $30 million still. It's still the commodity that is most replaceable year over year in the big leagues because of the volatility in the position, and there's just so many of them, and you can kind of like, piecemeal a great Joakim Soria or Tyler Thornburg season out of a guy. But he was incredible. Mm-hmm. I would not be surprised if, him being out for 2.5 months ends up, being it's a difference of 2 or 3 games that he probably would have closed down that the bullpen wouldn't, because it's not just who pitches the 9th inning. It's now someone else is pitching a high leverage spot in the 7th inning. Someone else is pitching a high leverage spot in the 6th inning. And early in the season, they've got some guys pretty well determined that like can get in some of those spots. Piamps, Piguero, Uribe, Hobie Milner, maybe. But like, there's still going to be some big 6th inning and 7th inning spots that those guys are not pitching. And now who is it? Is it Brian Hudson? Is it Bryce Wilson?
Trevor McGill?
It's just Trevor. Yeah, Trevor McGill's probably in the first group of guys that's like kind of proven and getting some big spots. So there's just a whole shakedown effect. And now you kind of look at the bullpen without Devin Williams, and it goes from this is the best bullpen in baseball to there's a few shaky spots suddenly.
Yeah, initially when this happened, I thought, well, okay, that's obviously a big blow, but it's also the bullpen is. The bullpen is more of a unit than it is really one person. So my initial thought was the Brewers can get through this. The more I've thought about it, the more I feel like this is like pretty devastating. And it isn't even just about on the field, although that is certainly the number one thing. But this team could have, approached the idea of trading him the way they did Josh Hader a couple of years ago, and he would have been probably their most attractive trade chip at the deadline. I don't know if he's probably going to be back before the deadline if the timeline that we've been given is accurate, but that's no sure thing. Will the Brewers be a competitive team at the deadline? I mean, there's already question marks. We already can't be sure that this team is an above 500 baseball team. We think they are, but we don't know for sure. And now you've created one more massive hole at a place that was previously thought of as an absolute strength, maybe the strength for this team. I think it's bad, really, really bad. And I'm going to be honest with you, Curt. I'm not feeling good about this team. Like, that's certainly not the only reason why. But again, as we are wont to do, we like to talk about the vibes. The vibes aren't bad. There's no reason to be down on them. I just am not seeing it. I'm not seeing this team being one that we should really think of as a contender for the playoffs, even though on paper they probably should be. I don't know how you can go from a 92-win team, bring so much of it back, and not expect something approaching that even after you've traded Corbin Burns. But I am down on where they are. And I do want to talk about with the bullpen, who you think will be the guy. Pat Murphy has said there isn't going to be a closer.
Oh, I've got a guy. I've got a guy.
I know you do. So how do you think this does shape up? Let's say everybody's healthy. They've got their druthers. Who is your 9th inning, 8th inning, 7th inning guy? Who would you think projects into those spots?
My guy, and I have come around to where I think like there's some intrinsic clubhouse, like baseball players operate on a schedule and like routine. I think there's some value to a 9th inning guy. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure it's like this team might be able to make it work without it, but I think it's Abner Uribe. This guy after his he got the save on Sunday night in Kansas City, that's irrelevant to this. What I'm trying to say here, like he got a catch to save. Congrats. But after he got the last strikeout, he looked to the Kansas City dugout, blew out the gun a little bit. I saw, and I don't know if the TV cameras caught it. It was a Kansas City broadcast game.
Yeah.
But we were standing right behind home plate. And that's when I thought in my head, yeah, okay, give this guy the ninth inning.
He's built different.
He is built different. He's got the stuff, obviously, for it. So, like, the margin for error for him, I think, is the widest because of this stuff. Like, he just did not get hit around hard last year. There was a couple blow-ups with the command, and that'll probably happen again in any role he's in. But I think Abner Uribe running in for the ninth inning is the guy I would feel best about at this point.
I agree with that. I think that makes sense. Then I would imagine Yoel Payamp, who was in that role last year as the eighth inning guy, is still your eighth inning guy. I feel like they got the best case scenario out of him. Like, I feel like there's room for that to not be what we saw again for Yoel, but still, he's probably your eighth inning guy at this point. McGill maybe is your seventh.
Yeah, I think Trevor McGill is the sneaky arm here. Like, if I'm just looking at the profiles and a little bit of how they performed last year, I would put McGill right under Uribe as best chances. I know some people think McGill has the best chance. There's people here that think that, and yeah, I don't really disagree with it at all. Like, I could see it.
I love how we're calling a guy. How tall is he? Like 6'7", 6'8", as the sneaky guy, the sneaky good arm.
McGill's not that tall. He's just like 6'6".
Oh, my bad.
6'7". You know, that's not that tall. It's not that tall.
No, it's not that tall. He is a big dude.
I was questioning if Mays is actually 6'7" yesterday for a little bit, and then I was like, no, he's 6'7". I was looking up a couple inches.
So
that was a height reference. Brag, by the way.
Yes, we know that you're tall. We have already showered you with love, and now we need to, of course, reference the fact that you're tall.
Thank you.
Let's talk more about Jacob Misiorowski, or just in general,
let us.
Who makes this team that wasn't going to, because Devin Williams is not going to start the season in Milwaukee.
It's not Jacob Misiorowski.
No, it's not. It's not. And we'll talk more about the prospect.
Should it be? Question mark.
Should it be? Well, that's kind of where I'm headed with that. I mean, they have an opportunity to mess around with this a little bit and maybe try something that we weren't expecting. I don't think that's it, but I don't know. Could be.
It's not. There's not a great case for it, but there's a case, and I could make it. I'm just not going to right now. Yeah.
No. So who makes it? Who are the guys? Is it Chiago Vieira? Like who's going to make this team? I do think
it's Chiago Vieira. You look at the other. So I think there's 6 bullpen spots, quote unquote bullpen. This team is going with fluid pitching roles early on. It would seem for a lot of it. I think there's 6 bullpen spots that are taken. Wilson, Peguero, Payamp, Uribe, Milner, McGill. Wow, riled that off. Let's go. Yeah. 2 spots left. Chiago Vieira is the only one without options. Chiago Vieira's got upside. Chiago Vieira throws 98, 99. Tell me why it shouldn't be him. He's pitched pretty well this spring. He competes. He's a fierce competitor. Brian Hudson has options. JB Bukauskas has an option. Taylor Clark. Actually, I think Taylor Clark might make it too as well. Give you some length. Aaron Ashby has options. I'm not really sure how he fits in right now.
Yeah, I think he starts in the minors.
I think it would be a good idea still to put Ashby in the bullpen. Like, gives you upside and length. And who knows how maybe the velocity looks better in the bullpen. But Taylor Clark pitched well yesterday, and he's putting his best foot forward as well. So, but out of all those guys, Chiago Vieira is the only one without options. He's already on the 40-man. Bing, bang, boom. Congrats to Chiago Vieira. You've made the Microbrew opening day 26-man roster.
Are we doing this thing where we have to say his first and last name at all times, Chiago Vieira? You
have to say Chiago Vieira.
I think that's right. Yesterday, I listened on the radio to the Illinois-Wisconsin game in the Big Ten title game, and there's no way to say the Illinois player known as Dane Danger without saying both his first and last name. Danger is a great last name all by itself, but you say Dane Danger. That's the correct way to say that name at all times. So I think Chiago Vieira falls into that category as well, where it's a first and last name only thing.
Absolutely. Jakob Younis.
Oh, that guy, Jacob Junis, of course. We do know how to pronounce that name. We will continue to do so incorrectly. You know, speaking of tall guys, you mentioned Brian Hudson, all 6'8" of him. Another, left-handed option. He has shown well. I'm guessing if he doesn't make the team outright, he will certainly be on this team at some point this year, right?
Oh, absolutely. He had a bit of a rougher outing yesterday, which was it was Sunday in surprise against the Royals, but it was a lot of dink and dunk, a lot of stoinks. Pat Murphy had a different word for stoinks. It started with a G, but I can't. We'll get back to it later.
Okay.
But that was basically what Brian Hudson's outing was. I could see him as well. Like, he's had a really nasty spring, but he also has the option and doesn't quite give you the length Taylor Clark does. So he'll be up again. We're picking nits over the opening day 26-man roster.
Yeah, I know.
Brian Hudson might be here on the first or second week of the year. He'll certainly factor into the team this year. He's looked really good. Talking to him was an interesting discussion because, as we were chatting about, me and Hudson was like, you're 6'8".
Is that how the conversation started? You're 6'8", sir.
6'8". I'm not. No, we did talk about airplanes. Specifically Southwest flights.
How tall are you again? Are you just 6'6"?
6'5". 6'6".
Yeah.
In your basketball programs, I'm listed at 6'7".
Oh,
I would have been defending Zach Edey on Saturday after everyone fouled out.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Just stand there. You'll get run over, and the foul will be called on you. But still, that's all you got to do, I think.
Yeah, we don't need to get me down that rabbit hole. Right. Probably not for the best. Brian Hudson, anyway, is someone we're talking about. He's a baseball player, and what he was saying is like, yeah, I'm not what you would perceive me to be as a pitcher. He doesn't throw that hard, 92 or so, but he gets really good extension. He's all the way down the mound. He's throwing from a funky 5'7", release slot on the height, and that gives the ball a really funky angle that the fastball comes in for hitters. He says he thinks he hides the ball well. Deception is probably his strength. So he's effective in a way that I would not have expected for a guy that big. I mean, he looks like he could be the Big Show's son.
That's a wrestling.
I don't even watch wrestling.
I don't do wrestling references. That's for our colleague Todd Rosiak.
No, but I do follow a lot of baseball people, so I see a lot of WWE Twitter. Can't avoid it.
So you've seen a picture of the Big Show, and he and Brian Hudson.
That's right. That's right, baby. I've seen a picture. Pop culture reference. That's right.
While we're on the subject of who's and what roles, the starting rotation continues to be a complete mystery to me. I don't know who's in it, to be quite honest. It looks like Wade Miley now will start the season, right? At least there's that.
Possibly. We'll see how long he can go on Thursday. If he goes, maybe 3 innings on the Thursday night game, let's map this out. Then we could throw again in one of the final spring training games, maybe that Wednesday. And then that's still a bit, he would not be fully stretched out. I think they're going to want him, though, for that 13 games. There's a stretch of back-to-back 13 consecutive games with 1 off day in the middle. That's right after they have 3 off days in the first week. So good job on you, MLB schedule makers. That makes a lot of sense. Baseball players love having 2 off days in a 4-day span in the first week of games. But nevertheless, I think you want Wade Miley healthy for sure for that second stretch, and you don't necessarily need him for those first 4 games. You can go 4-man rotation, figure it out, piecemeal it, hodgepodge it, whatever, bop it, twist it, shake it, etc.
Is that an 80s or that's a 90s reference, or is that a 2000s reference?
Yeah, I think it's 90s.
I like it.
Bleeding a bit into 2000s. I was a bop it kid.
Yeah.
I was a twister kid. I was excellent at twister.
That's before 90s. That's 80s, maybe 70s even. That's old school. Who makes the second start of the season after Freddie Peralta? I don't have an answer for that.
You know what I loved? I think maybe my favorite smell in the history of smells.
This is going to be
weird. A brand new twister mat.
Okay. Like that fresh plastic smell?
Fresh plastic, but specifically
twister.
A brand new twister mat. Oh man. Oh,
I don't love it.
That did it. That did it for 7-year-old me.
I'm gonna change the subject. Who's gonna be the second starter after Freddie Peralta? I have no idea what's going on.
I learned about the olfactory in anatomy class. That's the part of your nose that associates memories with smells.
Yes, yes.
But it's going to be. Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Jacob Junis?
Really?
Jacob Junis. Well, he pitched the day after Freddie Peralta. Or the same day as Freddie Peralta in the split squad game. He pitched out in Mesa at the A's. The Brewers playing the A's on the road, and Freddie pitched here. So I think it's Jacob Junis. I don't know. That's how it would track based on the guys who have, the scale like this. They have to line it up now. And then DL Hall is next. And then maybe Joe Ross. And then you only need 4 to start.
Curt, I'm worried about this rotation. What?
Fairly so. Fairly so.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Robert Gasser yet this episode, aside from the Cougs. But he's one of your best 26. I'm not sure he's on the open day roster. I don't think he is, because they might be able to start with 4 starters and then figure it out in the bullpen later. But Robert Gasser is one of your 5 best starters. I've seen enough. He does everything above average.
Pat Murphy, when you were talking about Robert Gasser, seemed to indicate that when you get to that 13-game stretch, that Robert Gasser is going to have a role there. So like you said, whether or not he's on the opening day roster is its own question, but there is no question at this point in my mind that Robert Gasser pitches in the month of April, that's going to happen.
Yeah, the Microbrew faithful know we've talked about. What does him and AAA do for you right now? It does nothing.
No, the man has proven it. He's good to go.
He's ready.
I will be excited to see him. Of course, as Brewers fans know, he is the sort of the last remaining tendril of that Josh Hader trade of guys who are still in the organization, not counting the the second and third generation moves that the Brewers have made.
Yeah, sorry, William Contreras is not from the
Hader.
The Hader trade tree.
Not directly.
No,
yes,
but not directly.
That's true. So there is some intrigue there.
The blessing from heaven from the Oakland Athletics.
I can't remember being this worried about a Brewers pitching staff going into the season since 2016, maybe, when it didn't truly matter. That's not true. I mean, the
2017.
Yeah, 2017. I mean, the 2018 team famously did not have an elite level starting rotation. They were Yolis Chacin, Wade Miley, and a few bits and pieces, and they made it to the NLCS and were 1 game away from the World Series. So, and where they thrived was using guys in non-traditional roles, using guys like Brandon Woodruff, guys who are still on the ascent. And the Brewers do have those guys. There are guys like Robert Gasser, Jacob Mizorowski, who more and more I feel like is going to pitch at some point this season in Milwaukee. They have a couple other guys who I think maybe could fill those roles as time goes on, but just wildly unproven. And I don't know, man. Who's going to get them? Who's going to get them outs this year? They'll hit a few. They'll get a few more runs, but
you can see a lot of guys throwing between 70 and 120 innings. True. Colin Ray. We forgot to mention Colin Ray in the rotation.
We have frequently.
Colin Ray is probably in the 4, or maybe. Well, I can't remember when he pitched last, but he's probably maybe after DL Hall. He's certainly in there. It's been confirmed.
I feel like I'm perpetually forgetting about Colin Ray to probably my own detriment, because he was solid.
Absolutely. Absolutely solid. I think you certainly know what you're getting from Colin Ray. That much that's probably the best, that's a good trait to have. And maybe his best trait is you know what you're getting.
Reliable. Yeah. Kind of I think I certainly think he could be Adrian Hauser, or a little bit better than Adrian Hauser, even, which would be
no doubt. I think his stuff is better than Adrian Hauser's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how well he does. There is a chance he is the guy who takes a little bit of a leap forward and becomes more than just a reliable number 4, number 5 guy. I don't know if that's true, but there's a chance that's going to happen where he ends up. You don't see it.
I think I picked the wrong guy for my Cy Young breakout in the Brewers rotation this year.
Well, you needed the risk with Aaron Ashby is that you just never knew.
I haven't seen. And maybe it still happens. Maybe the velo comes back. I just hadn't seen the velo yet, and now it's very command based. But I still think there should be a spot for him on this team.
Okay. St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. There was, since we're talking about the future to some degree here, guys having to step up, rise up. There was this prospect showcase, this spring breakout. against Brewers top prospects against the Royals top prospects. Give me a couple bullet points. What you saw, what was interesting, any names that we haven't previously considered that maybe we would now?
I think it was a good idea. I would like to see it again. I'd like to see it again in maybe a more competitive facet, where not the guys aren't trying, but like, I don't know, where it means or can be perceived to mean something a little more. Maybe that's foolish of me to think that or want that, but it was a good idea. I think the execution perhaps could be better. It was really hyped up, and then it was kind of tough to watch a lot of the games, especially in the Brewers game. Broadcast quality was not great either. So that much I think needs to get figured out. The level of hype needs to match the production quality, but good idea. I liked it was fun to see all the young Brewers prospects out there. Got to see some guys that are super interesting on the mound. Logan Henderson, before he left with an oblique problem. The changeup is disgusting. Brett Wachowski, Mike Wazowski threw 2 innings in relief. The 13th round pick from Bryant University last year. No one paid attention to him in the draft, myself included. They're paying attention to him now. He's nasty. Josh Noth got to throw his first game, was a little erratic. Walk-off wild pitch, walked a couple guys. But you can see the curveball. It's good. The velo was up 95, 96, 97. So, and then there was the Miz, obviously. He did Miz things, struck out 5 and 2 2/3, walked 3, hit 2. There's a lot of hit batters, JR. Jefferson Caro got hit on the hand/wrist. And then 2 pitches later, Wes Clark got clipped on the ear flap. The C flap on the helmet. So a lot of hit batters. Let's try to not break bones in a meaningless showcase.
Yeah, little bit of high school baseball energy where there isn't the control isn't always the most pinpoint.
Extreme high school baseball energy. Not just that game though, but Sunday in Surprise. We had a lighting issue delay. In the second game.
That's right. And then, lots of delays.
We're on hour 6 of being there, and the lights, they can't turn them on. So right back home, baby. Just like I'm back on the fields of Brown Deer High School.
Yeah. Let's check in on Jackson Chourio. Where do we think he starts the season? Does he start in the big leagues or not? Does he start in the starting lineup or not? How do you feel about him?
Center field, Queens, New York.
Center field, Queens,
Flushing
New York.
district.
For those who are unaware of the Brewers' schedule, that would be with the Milwaukee Brewers.
That's right. I have never really considered the alternative possibility for more than 3 seconds since I've been down here. He leads the Cactus League in at-bats. Yeah. Pat Murphy's he's been hard on him, and I think that's by design because he's his center fielder. I don't know how much to read into this or if I should, but I'm going to just throw it out there. After we left our media session this morning with Pat Murphy, Jackson Chourio was sitting outside the office. He had a 10 a.m. batting practice session on the field that just finished up with Willie Damas and William Contreras, but he was waiting outside of Murphy's office and not at the batting practice session. And now that we're recording, they were hitting, and he eventually came back down with a big smile on his face, giving out hugs to everyone. So I don't know what that means. Maybe nothing, maybe something. I'll let you read between the lines there.
I'm going to read between the lines and say
they're blurry lines. They are blurry lines, but I would not be doing my job if I didn't tell you the interesting things that I saw.
I find that interesting indeed. Although, like you, I don't know if I really considered an alternative. They can say they're going to start him at AAA, but
Garrett Mitchell's been playing the corners all spring. I think that's maybe the best way to put it. And Garrett Mitchell's on the roster too, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Unconfirmed. It hasn't been said by Pat Murphy, but I don't know if it has to be.
Does that mean Joey Wiemer starts indeed in Nashville? I feel like that's kind of where we're heading.
It depends on how you want the roster structure to go, right? Because Sal Frelick, third base, seems to be a legitimate thing. Joey Ortiz will be other third baseman, play against lefties. So it's a matter of, there's 2 out of the 3 can make the roster, right? You have to have a backup infielder, and you have to have you will have Jake Bauers. That's 2 of your bench guys, and then Gary Sanchez as well. So that leaves you with those 2 spots, and it's Eric Haas, it's another outfielder, and it's another infielder. Mm-hmm. To me, you want the outfield coverage, and you want that extra infield coverage because you're going to pinch hit for Bryce Terang. You're going to pinch hit for Bryce Terang. And you don't want to use your only other infielder like a Monasterio or whomever it is in that situation. So
yeah,
I think they go infield extra outfielder, which would be Weimer, or maybe Blake Perkins, but probably Weimer because he has looked better with like hard contact is there.
Yeah, you were writing about a great play that Blake Perkins made on Sunday night. He is, I think we're at the point where people understand defensively, he is as elite as they come. He's not just a really good defensive center fielder. He's an elite.
Story coming to jsonline.com.
Ooh, eyeball emojis on the Blake Perkins story, which brings me to another story involving eyeball emojis.
Oh, that was so well done. Wow.
The hardest hitting journalism of spring training
involves William
Contreras. William Contreras, he has been known to float some eyeball emojis, some cryptic tweets that had people abuzz in the off season. You caught up with him and wrote about it for jsonline.com. Both his tweets, which are fun and very good. Maybe there isn't a deeper story there, and just the fact that he is quite possibly the best player on this team, and and if he isn't yet, could emerge as that guy, and maybe even one of the best catchers in the National League or baseball in general.
11th in the National League MVP voting last year, and he should have been 3 or 4 spots higher. Not that matters a super amount, but as an MVP voter, I thought people were not giving him the credence and the respect that he quite deserved with the year he had last year for a 92 win team. But yeah, a little bit about how the sausage was made, if you want to know. I just wanted to know about the eyeball emoji tweets. But I can't go up to a guy and ask him about his eyeball emoji tweets. It has to be embedded. So
I like
it. We just had a nice little chat about some other things. But through that process, it kind of led to a nice marriage of how the eyeball emoji tweets relate to William Contreras as a player. He doesn't know what to do with himself when he's not doing something with baseball. So he sends out a sand timer tweet or a clock or a face palm.
I love it.
It's because with Contreras, I mean, all baseball players are this way to a degree, but with Contreras for sure, you cannot separate the work he puts in from the standing that he has as a player. He's got a different motor, man. He's a different cat. He's a different breed. You see like the physicality, and then you can see the fruits of the mentality too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else I need to ask you, Curt, before we get out of here.
There's been good tacos. I've been enjoying a place downtown called Taco Cello. Shout out to Microbrew listener Kevin.
Is he the one who recommended this Taco
Cello? He recommended
Taco
Cello, yes, among other taco places, but this one has been superior so far. There's also a great place called Tacos Al Carbone if you're coming down to Maryvale at any point for a Brewers game. If
you're running out of time, but there is some spring breakout.
There might still be some people coming down. It's on 43rd or so.
Of course. 43rd.
Maybe a mile and a half from the ballpark.
This has been your Todd Rosiak Memorial update on the food situation. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it.
The tacos are so good. The tacos are so good.
I mean, it's Arizona. They should be amazing. That's just
how
it should be.
This is what I'm saying. The cholesterol is not so good. It's not so good.
You don't have to worry about it at your 6'5"ness as much as I do, which doesn't mean I have worried about it. It just means that's the case.
You should. You should. And so should I to a degree. I'm not a young spry boy anymore.
Yes, you are.
I'm a cagey, disgruntled journalist.
Speaking of which, Todd Rosiak is not dead. He will, in fact, be on the road to cover the Milwaukee Brewers in New York against the New York Mets to open up the season. It's the Battle of David Stearns when the Brewers head out to New York to kick off the season March 28th. They'll be back home April 2nd. We will have one more Microbrew podcast before then because we do have one more week in between. So any other thoughts, Curt, before I send you away that, any other surprises you're expecting?
Yeah, but we got some other stuff. I mean, a couple things to talk about before I'm in the assistant GM booth right now. Ooh. Or not the assistant, the away GM booth right now.
Oh, they're going to kick you out.
Harry Manassian will be coming at some point. Hopefully not in the next 5 minutes because I still have some things I want to ask you about, some topics.
Perry Manassian, come on the pod. Let's do that.
Come on the pod. That would work.
He has connections to the Brewers.
Hello.
Let's do that.
Talk to me about why you didn't trade Shohei. Let's sit down. I got a spot right here. Buddy.
Did you know that when you had Shohei and Mike Trout, that you would actually not make the playoffs?
How does it feel never making the playoffs with the greatest baseball talent we have ever seen, and also Mike Trout?
Trout, who has played in one playoff series and not won a playoff game in his Hall of Fame historic career.
I would like to tell him about the rebuild I did with the Angels in OTP 2015 when I saw the writing on the wall. They have no prospects. They should trade Mike Trout.
OTP 2015.
We won a World Series, baby, by 2020. There was no pandemic at the point in this version of 2020.
No. Famous sliding door, Mike Trout taking one pick before Eric Arnett of the Milwaukee Brewers.
Hoosier.
One pick below. Yep, Indiana. Mm-hmm. Did not work out. But
I do have a question. I did want to ask you what your thoughts were on Bryce Harper being the not only just the opening day second baseman, but like the presumptive every day, like this is our guy, second baseman.
Yeah, I did not see that coming. I think we'll see, because that means that they're counting on him to be a little bit more productive offensively. At least, he's got to take a step offensively, because you can't have him be that guy all year long again, no matter how good his defense is. But also, I don't know. He's not going to get. I don't think he gets worse. Like I don't see how he doesn't take at least some modest step. Right. I don't know what you've seen from him in spring training, but.
The swing decisions have been a little better. There seems to be, it's always difficult to get a lot out of Bryce Harper in the terms like the nitty gritty of the game. But it does seem to be that like he wants to do more damage, but doesn't want to worry too much about doing more damage, because then you don't do more damage. It's kind of the funky way that baseball works. Most guys, like less is more, but I want to do more. So it's a tricky balance. I was a bit surprised. I think we talked about it when Sal was moving to the infield. It seemed like, maybe maybe they want him at second base if Terang doesn't work out, and maybe they still that's a possibility down the road. But it was third base the whole time. Second base has not really been a thing at all. So I just found that interesting.
Has Joey Ortiz played at second base when he's been in there?
No, he's been third base, and he's on the team.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. I'm just saying who is.
No, it's been Bryce Harper. Owen Miller has kind of been the replacement second baseman more so when Terang's not in the lineup. Joey Ortiz a little bit at second base. I don't have the numbers in front of you how much he's played where, but it's mostly been third base.
Is there any scenario where Owen Miller, Wisconsin native, of course, does he make this team at all? I know we don't think so, but is there a chance?
There's a scenario that you need. That's if they want to go with that second infielder.
That comes at the expense of
the second backup infielder. If Frelick is included in the mix, then you go Monasterio Miller, or you go Oliver Dunn Miller, or Oliver Monasterio. That'd be a good name, Oliver Monasterio.
Oh, that is a good name. I like it. Andre Monasterio is pretty good too, to be honest. That doesn't come at the expense of Eric Haas.
The thing that Monasterio can do that the others don't is play shortstop. So I think that gives him a bit of a leg up, especially if they're going to carry those two backup non-Jake Bowers infielders.
But Joey Ortiz and Bryce Harper can presumably both play shortstop as well, right?
This is true. But if you're lifting Ortiz from the game or lifting Terang from the game, I mean, they do have two other guys that can play shortstop. Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
About maximizing what they can provide, although it's a smaller role.
Okay. Did you have another question for me? You said you had questions plural.
No, I kind of want to talk about myself.
Okay, let's do it. Let's close this down the best way possible. Talking about you, Curt. What's new?
Actually, no, this is about Pat Murphy. Talking about Pat Murphy has been different. Very different. Yes, we're going to talk about how the sausage is made some more. Because you know what matters, JR, is our jobs.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
How much, I don't want to say easier, but like more casual, maybe refreshing, like the Murphy sessions have been this year. It has not felt like an official, hard-nosed thing. It's just been just fireside chats with Pat Murphy. We'll see how long it lasts into the season. But it's been we've had some enlightening 30-minute sessions with him. Like that's a long time to be in the manager's office. The way he talks about the game is is a really interesting blend of like he understands the benefits and the nuances of the modern game and information and analytics and all those things, and the value that the front office can bring to his job. But at his core, he's an old school guy. So it's been kind of eye-opening to see how those things blend together. Oftentimes when he talks about players, it's about the makeup, about the mental side of it. And these guys are going to have, DL Hall's going to be successful when he figures out like the right approach on the mound mentally. But his bullpen understanding seems to be like super on par with what you would expect from, a guy who in the modern game understands leverage and not having a capital C closer. So it's been a big change of pace from last year and the previous manager. I've enjoyed it. And I think maybe fans are seeing some of like the fruits of it too. Like on their end, you watch a Murphy video, you read Murphy quotes, and maybe you get more out of it, or maybe it's just I don't know how to describe it, but it's different.
Yeah, I think fans will enjoy it. I think they'll warm up to him very quickly, especially given that the guy who left leaves a little acrimony in his wake. I think there will be a quick embrace of Pat Murphy.
Now we'll just wait until I get cussed out after a game for the first time.
Yeah. Do you think there's a switch that flips once you get to the regular season and he turns on evil Pat Murphy? Is that what's coming your way?
There's a difference, I think, even before from like pregame Pat Murphy to postgame. And this is a lot of managers, but it wasn't so much with Counsell. It was very similar pre and post game most days. The guard is down a little bit in the mornings, and then after the game, it's still game mode. A little bit of the guard up. We're also not trying to talk for 30 minutes after the game. Everyone's trying to go to their homes or apartments or hotels. So
to the taco place down the road.
Taco Cello. Ooh, I had the chorizo torta last night.
Very good. Very good. We have just seen, as we record this on Monday, a lineup posted that has Garrett Mitchell in center field and Jackson Chourio in right field, just so we have that out there.
I'm listening.
That's 2 games in a row where Mitchell's played center. So as we get closer, we'll pay a little bit more
attention. Chourio in a different spot. That's interesting. I don't think that's really happened much.
All right, let's see it. Let's see what happens. Curt, that should wrap it up for this edition of Microbrew before the Angels front office kicks you out of that space. We will lock it down. Perry, come on the pod.
Ray Montgomery, is that?
Oh, come on the pod, Ray Montgomery.
Artie Moreno, come on the pod.
Oh, Artie Moreno.
I don't think Artie Moreno would like me if I covered that team.
What would? No, I don't think so. I don't.
He would hate you probably more.
He probably would. He
you
probably
rebel
would.
rouser.
I don't think he would come on the pod. Just a guess. He is Curt Hogg. Find everything he has at jsonline.com. He's still writing about the Brewers. He'll still be there for the duration of spring training. We are 10 days away from the opener in New York. So getting closer, and we will be back in touch with you again next week. Thank you for listening to this edition of Microbrew, everyone. Again, like and subscribe, or whatever it is, whatever the terminology is, do that on YouTube where you can see our smiling faces, and we will chat with you again next week. Bye-bye.